around and you let some pale faces that gave a fuck about these brown faces get in positions of power and see what the fuck they was doing. And just like I told y'all, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, but every motherfucker that don't look like you ain't your enemy either, right? They use pale faces to block the institutions of learning, of finance, which is the banks, and for motherfucking social, which is politics, which is your city council, governments, and your school boards. We was all being blocked by pale faces from being able to get into any of those positions. So this is what was the cause of the Ellis Island immigration when they say Europe dumped out everybody they had on their streets and sent them over here because it was a all pink motherfuckers on deck scenario. Everybody that looked like the motherfuckers they blocking the institution. If you ever want some shit called freedom on earth, come over here and we gonna overrun these institutions with friendly faces and they gonna drag their motherfucking secrets out in the open too, like Madam H.P. Blavatsky or Aleister Crowley or Franz Bardone or Rudolph Steiner, motherfuckers that went in there and got that shit like Manly P. motherfucking Hall, like motherfucking Henry Ford, that went and what's the motherfucking name? Napoleon Hill, the Carnegie family who financed Napoleon Hill to get all of their secrets out, as many as you can, on how to keep your motherfucker self successful. And we gonna put all this shit in the public domain because they're not gonna keep Earth oppressed. It was a lot of people that didn't look like us that did a lot of work to liberate people that look like us. But it's a lot of people that look like us that did a lot of work to we don't never get free. So y'all gotta realize this shit don't got nothing to do with this right here. Don't have nothing to do with it. This don't have nothing to do with it. It's what's in here. This the shit that matter. What's in this motherfucker? What your heart made of? Y'all sit here, y'all don't realize. Go back and check out every motherfucking slave revolt, rebellion, or insurrection. It's gonna always be somebody that don't look like us tell us, you know y'all a slave, right? If you want me to help you get free, I give you some guns, I give you some ammo, what you need. And then as soon as he get to telling us what we need to get free, some motherfucker look like us roll right in there and say, hey, Malcolm, they plotting to escape on you, boss. I comes in to give them all up so I can get my motherfucking pension. Get your bitch ass out of here. And they always was spoiled by a motherfucker that looked like us that did not have our interest at heart. Cause there's no way. The worst thing I discovered in all of this shit was the white man ain't white. That hurt my feelings so motherfucking bad. You could not imagine that I could say some niggas did this shit. That's the most upsetting thing, to actually run across that shit, cross-reference it multiple times saying I can't be right, but every time you reference that shit and cross-reference it, say, yep, it was the white man ain't white, some niggas was behind it the whole time, and all it is about right now, who gonna see these motherfuckers for what they is? Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, Rod Hayes. You know, the list goes on. The nation been telling us the whole fucking time, ever since Elijah had to escape the Moorish Science Temple and set up his own shit, because them niggas was fighting over there trying to overthrow Moorish Science Temple that Noble Drew Ali set up. So while they was so busy trying to tear that shit up and fighting on the inside for that shit, Elijah Muhammad just casually went on along and set up his shit. Like his wife told him, because Clara was the motherfucker that's the mirror flip to Farad Muhammad, but y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And that's where the power came from for the nation. Claire was the power. Claire was the real motherfucking Allah behind the scenes. Alat, the dark mother, big mama, the highest ranked matriarch on the land. You know, our Love Ill done a good job of what he was working with. That nigga fought snakes the whole way. Our Love Ill and what's my man used to be with him all the time? I forgot his name, but our brother Our Love Ill fought snakes. He couldn't wait to get the keys over to motherfucking Angel Bay. Look, and you go back and look. If you knew how strong the Muftis was in the lifetime, the Muftis was just like FOI. You wasn't finna get your hands on the prophet unless you was on the inside. There, they all up through there. They just going on, man, in their business.
Thanks. All of them, he get everything. Foxwoods, they got the whole reservation.
Yeah.
I see him all the time. Nah, but what was you what were you talking about
Man,
with
it's
the
open
vibe?
conversation, man.
Should
You
we
got
chop it
anything on
up,
your
homie?
mind you want to discuss?
Yeah, I was listening to Dane Calloway the other day on his live when he was speaking about the Afrikaners, and like you were just saying something essentially that resonated or like reflected with what he was speaking about literally 2 days ago about the imposters going to Africa first and then running the same operation on Americans or our homeland,
They,
just
they
basically
don't
copy and
change
paste it.
tactics. That's how you can track them.
Facts.
That make them easy to track. The problem is that most of us don't believe somebody that look like this, look like me and you, would do what's been being done to us, to us. That's where the problem come in with solving the problem. That's the hardest part of solving the problem.
No, that's a psychological trap because niggas looking for somebody that they looking for something they can't find. It's like you're just looking in the
Yeah,
wrong
then they
place.
pull up these old geezer ass
That's really wild.
Rockefellers. Motherfuckers gotta go get life support every night before they go to sleep at night. Because they might not wake up the next morning. Talking about these motherfuckers running the show.
Yeah,
They
no, I
can't
kind of
run the
made.
show, man. Them motherfuckers ain't even smart enough to
Yeah,
wipe their own ass. Without
they learned everything from us. Like once I learned about the primordial noon and that all life came from the black woman, I was like, there's no way that they're running anything here. Like it's under our jurisdiction essentially. Like there's somebody who clearly looks like us, like you were saying, running the entire show, and it's like trickle down economics. So they give it to them to enforce it against us, so that we
And
don't know
then
who the
they've
actual
been
enemy
telling
is.
us the whole
And
time,
it's
it
really just
wasn't
like,
us. Your own people did it. We like, motherfucker, what my people? Slap, boom, beat down, and then come to find out they right. And then you can think about how many times you went upside somebody's head for telling you it was your own people because it was somebody that looked like us that wasn't us. And they couldn't tell the difference.
facts.
Shit, we just got to the
Facts.
point where we could tell the difference in them.
But hang on. Yeah, no, I was about to say like it's literally under prophecy, so we all living it in real time.
Yeah, half of us don't know if we seen the picture of David Koresh and the picture of Charles Manson and the picture of Jesus Christ. We couldn't tell you who was who. But most of us can't. We think they are
Facts.
Jesus. Oh, them just different pictures of people playing like Jesus. But the first picture was the fake
Literally,
picture.
Christian Bale, Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Caesar
But
Borgia.
really, the guy that sat
Yeah.
in as the model for that picture was Michelangelo's cousin. And the guy that was the model for Moses was his uncle. All of those was really his family members. It just so happened that Caesar Borgia looked like Michelangelo's cousin too.
Sure.
So they accidentally
That's
fell up on
crazy.
some shit, discovered some shit. He wasn't even no hell of a Caesar. You don't. If it
Wow.
wasn't for the picture, we wouldn't even know he existed.
Yeah, because I didn't know it existed till it was really about that. And I figured, you ever heard of Pastor Darby?
Pastor,
Pastor Stephen Darby?
that sounds
Stephen
familiar.
Darby. Yeah, like he was a pastor like on YouTube going crazy for like the past 10 years. I'm pretty sure he passed away in like 2016, 17. But he was going on like from like 2008 to like 2016 about all the esoteric nature of like how they flip the script in bibliology or biblio, I guess, religious texts in general, just like how they flipped it in music and all that things and just like our artistic nature. So like
That's
everything is
how I
really
was
just
able to
reversed.
put the Bible story together and unscramble it by learning the story that our ancestors left in stone for us. Oh yeah, the Negro Land video that got him murked. Yep, I know which one you talking about.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. He was going crazy back in the day. That's where I was getting most of my information from initially. Because not gonna lie to you, I wasn't really reading books. Like I was just listening to people who I felt like their spirit resonated with mine, and I would just like learn the information, then go do my research on the internet myself.
So once you start getting the pieces and you start verifying, then you start putting the pieces in together. You see the puzzle. The hardest part was
Yeah,
when I first was studying in the Morris Science Temple, and I asked them where was the flag of the babes. That set the biggest red alert off to me in the history of mankind. That's They don't know nothing about
what
no
was it?
flag of the babes. They have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
Because they don't know who the Bays are.
That was we took the position in the L's versus the Bays, feathers versus the fezes. The Bays was the ones who, the term Bays and Days are terms of provincial leaders from the Ottoman Empire. The
Okay.
Ali was the Grand Mufti that was in charge of the Caliphate. The Caliphate is the successorship of Prophet Muhammad, and the rightful heirs come down through a specific chain. So you need the Ali key in order to secure the birthright of the L's. The L's come from the Kabbalah, right? When they speak of L, they talk a definite article L, the, right? But when the is left in of its own accord, when it stands alone, it's an irrational statement, right? Right.
Like
There's no way to reference it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the L's became known as the Elohim in Hebrew, but they became known as Metaru in Kemetic. You know, he buffering. That's when you know the shit getting hot, when they start making motherfuckers buffering shit. Okay, so by putting the ancient Egyptian holy drama together, the war between Set and Osiris, from which Osiris lost his life, and Set then had to fight his son Horus. This is called the holy drama, right? They call it the Book of the Dead. We call it the Book of the Coming Forth by Day, but it's none of that. It's really called the holy drama. It's a divine court case taking place between two rival brothers, and one of the brothers was married to the other brother's twin sister that he wanted to keep for himself. This unfolds the Cain and Abel story and the Esau and Jacob story. The redundancy of it shows you the pattern. So the story, so when they tell you Judas betrayed Jesus, Judas is Judah in Hebrew. It's not Judas. It's Judah. Right.
Yeah,
so what they talking about, Judah is supposed to have, the so-called Christ had a twin brother. It was Simon and Judah. But they telling you everywhere these words you read is the words of somebody named Jesus. And that's not true, because you got two different people talking with decisively different characteristics. But if don't none of us study forensic profiling, we'll never figure that out. And my dumb ass was just ambitious enough to study forensic profiling. Why in the fuck did I do that? I fucked myself. Now I can see this shit for what it is. And now I'm the only motherfucker that can see it. Now I look really crazy.
That's the mind. You look crazy to dumb people, though. Like, there are people who resonate with you who still don't understand your wherewithal, but they can feel what you're saying because they know it's true in their spirit. So it's like, everybody needs a teacher. You just need to be able to comprehend what you're saying or what she's saying.
That's why I got so many references. Like, people don't know that because newcomers will come and they'll be listening. That nigga just talking, but they ain't seen all the receipts yet. I done dropped so many motherfucking receipts. God
that's
damn.
how people train to think.
I done gave motherfuckers the pages. I didn't even publish to put the pages in posts of books, showing people what I'm talking about. But the newcomer don't know. I'm talking now post. After I done already gave the receipts. I gave the receipts in 2018. Everything I'm saying now, I'm saying it redundantly. I'm just saying the same shit over and over again. I'm talking about everything from cleaning your filters, aligning your chakras, grounded to the earth, to the spiritual baths, to the wake up, the enemy is at hand. This is where the motherfucker at. Don't take that bullshit, because these motherfuckers is lying to you, because they plan on rolling out a whole plan in the next 6 months, and 6 months later, here they come. We got to shut Earth off. Who the fuck turns the Earth off, the entire planet? Who the entire Earth off? Come on, man. They turned it off. The Earth had a big ass closed for business sign across that bitch when you pull up out of space. Closed. Nothing's moving. They literally closed Earth, man. Who got that kind of stroke? That's some stroke.
Yeah, it's not even that they have that kind of strength. It's the people that they're directing don't have the knowledge enough to know not to fucking follow it. Because we all have all the real power, so it's like if people conform, it's gonna work. Like it's like we're the trendsetters, they're just the speakers. So it's like if you're gonna listen or revolt, people
Look,
didn't.
somebody said I just started listening to you. I need access to the receipts. This is a sister. She got a Rod Hayes receipts page on Patreon. She took her time, took my videos, the books I referenced that's in PDF, shit's in downloadable format. She put in some work.
What's your Patreon
It's the
name?
Patreon page.
So
It's Rod Hayes receipts.
Mm-hmm. Write that down there.
See what she got? RHC. That's for the newcomers. Because somebody has been on my. Okay, so once I get done doing this, I'm gonna be on hiatus for about 6 months when this shit blow. While I'm on hiatus, I'm gonna download all my content on Facebook and Instagram. I gotta fight them for my other page that they closed just to get the content. Each one of them posts is gonna be a pamphlet, so you see with the timestamp and date and where it was posted at. All that's gonna be in there because a lot of people don't know the level of receipts I had to produce to be able to talk to people like I'm talking to them now. I had to prove to a whole lot of people that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because if I can't prove it, and I'm telling y'all that the most traumatic thing I've discovered was the white man ain't white. That fucked me up. The black nobility.
Yeah, so imagine about somebody who doesn't have the knowledge.
But the whole point being is they come in on the new, they never know how traumatic that was because some of the people was watching when I made the final link on the video back in 2018. Right then, I got to hesitate how I handle the Moors because it's a bunch of good dudes that went in there to overthrow those motherfuckers playing their game. Right, but now that's their paradigm. That's their new Moorish paradigm now. So now the only remedy is Angel Bay clean out the dirty Moors and then re-educate the righteous Moors, right? That's the only remedy without throwing out the bathwater, the baby, and the bathtub, right? So we just want to throw out the dirty water. Them motherfuckers is in every organization. But when you watch when this shit come out, because somebody said, Rob, we need to know the organizations they running today. They've infiltrated every motherfucking lodge, every religious organization, every political organization, every educational organization, especially those that they call higher learning. Because by keeping you out of the schools of higher learning, they can keep you under the income umbrella. The income umbrella was designed that we never come above a certain socioeconomic level. This is why they bombed Black Wall Street. This is why they bombed Rosewood was a whole fucking Black Wall Street down there. They trying to tell us it's about black man whistle or raped some white girl and then they went on a murderous mob rage and burnt down the city or some shit. That's bullshit. They was economically self-sufficient in Rosewood just like they were in Black Wall Street in Tulsa. All they did was the same thing. They met up with the motherfuckers from Tulsa, where we call Atlanta today, when they left. Because they understood the nature of warfare. And the nature of warfare is anytime your enemy run you out of somewhere, find where your allies at. This is why so many Floridians and Oklahomans in goddamn Atlanta. If they start tracing their bloodline, they're going to be fucked up. They was organic. They didn't want the tribes flourishing. We was in a warlock. That's why all of the money is fiat. Ain't backed by nothing.
Yeah.
It's monopoly money.
It's all fake currency. Yeah, it's literally faith. People just believe in it. That's what full faith and credit means.
I ain't got no faith in credit because credit equals motherfucking debt, and debt is slavery.
Yeah. Work employment is slavery, even by definition.
Yeah. Well, they have a book that give you legal terms. It was called Ipsum Jurum, Ipsum Sui Juris. And the term, the difference
Yeah.
between an employee and a slave is wages. That's the difference. That's why. That's what the whole idea or concept of minimum wage came from. Anybody make less than minimum wage is automatically recognized as involuntary servitude or slavery. Right? That's why you have to be a child to get paid less than minimum wage. And they trick the motherfucking servers in some of these restaurants and bars because your tips don't post account.
Yeah.
Melchizedek is a title. It means my angel, the just one. That's Malachi York. Sui juris, that means, yep, of the rightful ones, or of the rightful jurisdiction.
Yeah.
But the book is like Sui Juris Ipsum or Ipso Sui Juris. But this was the terms in early American law. See, a lot of us haven't read none of the law books, so we don't know that a lot of times in colonial America, the lawyer was the chief of a clan that came in and he didn't even argue the case. He argued the standing of the court in order to hear the case. That's why a lot of the early American law books are only at certain law libraries, like the one in D.C. or the one in the state capitol. Right? When you start going back to early American law, go back to cases between the Confederacy and the Union, where they were suing each other. And it was natives with feathers that was overseeing the court as the judge. We don't know nothing about that because we don't have access to those books unless we go to those law libraries. And those law libraries, you have to be a barrister to get in. And I just like telling my people where they had they shit at.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it. I've really been getting into law recently. Studying syntax, obviously, looking at the Constitution and all the American contracts, and realizing that they don't say anything because their format is adverb verb syntax. So, like, when you read it, it's actually just babbling.
Yeah, well, the first thing that you have to understand is something in law called style and title. That's how it got to be wrote. If it's not written according to the proper style and title, it's not the person they claiming to be. And that's how I discovered the fraud. Because the Constitution of Michigan, it had right in there the style and title. And then when I pulled out my court documents, nothing was in the style and title proper. That immediately, that's immediately identifying the fraud at its source.
And fraud negates all contracts. So at the moment there's one piece of fraud, it's null and void.
Yeah. And that's the same thing I use to cancel all of the contracts from the position of a chief that's the de jure, right? Non-performance and fraud. Because they never honored any of the contracts they signed, and they signed them all under false pretense.
Mm-hmm. And they're complicit
right.
in fraud.
And that's
so
why I tell everybody that if you don't want to be party to the fraud, you have to abandon the contract. And the only way to abandon the contract is anything that uses your straw man name, don't participate in it. So, like your job, you had to do a W-4 or W-2 or 1099. All of those is contracts tying you to the system. Soon as you realize the fraud, you abandon the contract. That way that the fraudster that wrote the contract trying to enforce it gets caught red-handed trying to enforce the contract. And that immediately gives you everything that he stole from you back because you didn't know you was in the fraud. The defense in the court of law is called the abandonment defense. Me and you could be going somewhere together. I don't know what you're finna do, But right before you go in the store, you about to rob. You say, "Hey, bro, I'm about to rob this store." I said, "Man, I don't want no parts of that. I go home. You go rob the store. They arrest us both. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to say. You ain't got nothing to say." My lawyer come up, be like, "Look, man, I told that motherfucker I want nothing to do with it." He said, "Cool." I went home. He went and did what he did. And then your lawyer going, "Man, my man ain't had nothing to do with it. He went home. I went and robbed the store." Right? Then your lawyer gonna talk to my lawyer and say, "Hey, well, what is this called? This is called the abandonment defense for your client. But for my client, we have to sever the case, or that's gonna make him look worse." Right? So that's how you strategize in law.
Mm-hmm.
The abandonment defense is to protect the person who doesn't know they're being used as a cat's paw to crime to give him an out. Somebody's finna bring you into a criminal act and you don't want to participate. You got to have a way, once you discover there's criminal activity going on, this is the abandonment clause of the act. Once you realize what's going on, I don't want nothing to do with that. Right? And you dip. Yep.
Yeah, right of
You
rescission.
got to know how to protect yourself. Yep.
Do you know anything about the laws of
Boxing?
boxing? Yeah, like it's like an unspoken agreement. Like anything in a box technically can exist
Oh no, that's a construct, right?
when it's on
So
paper.
you're talking about the where it's the top where it put the box around the defendant and the those are called
Yeah,
I forgot the name for them to put them in there. So basically, what it is when they take you into court, you're only a thumb drive. They don't really have anything to do with anything going on in the courtroom. Everybody's a barrister but you. Automatic conflict of interest. Not just a conflict of interest, but it's a irreconcilable conflict of interest because anybody that comes to defend your interest has to be a bar member. And all bar members' first motherfucking
yeah,
fiduciary duty is to the bar, which overrides any duty to you. So now you're caught in a conundrum.
yeah. They all
There's
work for the
nothing you
crown.
can do to be part and party to this action because there's no way you can participate in this action without a bar member.
Yeah. Anytime anyone gets signed over to jail, your lawyer or your attorney has to sign off on you to even go. Them, the judge, and the clerk. And the clerk has the
Yeah,
most
the
power out
clerk
of
is a
every
bar
person.
member too, and the clerk is the one who holds the lien because it's a lien in the courtroom every time you go in there. That's what your file is. Your file has a lien in it, and that lien in
Yes.
that file, you are the thumb drive or the evidence. That's all you is evidence in court. A thumb drive. Well, I got 9 seconds remaining. I'm probably gonna come back on for an hour. So if y'all watching, not long.
That are confused by the things that you say. However, I recognize, and a lot of others recognize your mission and purpose. And so tonight, what we want to do is do something a little different because folks are used to telling us what Big Mama is saying like right now, or what's happening on the land, what to look at, what has ended, and what contracts are over. But everyone has a beginning, and some folks think, well, he just came out of nowhere, or what gives him the right or authority, and he says I too much. We talked about that. So tonight, I want you to just whatever in the realm of spirit of truth and whatever you can release about Rod Hayes, because sometimes the fact that we don't understand or understand where a person has come from to get them to the place, what qualifies them to do and stand on the on the square or the soapbox or whatever the position one takes. Until you walk the mile in someone else's shoes, you really don't have a real understanding of what it took to get them to where they are. So tonight, let's delve into we're talking about, we talked a little bit about your struggles, because and what even to the point of what your family thought. So wherever you want to start, so I can shut up because they know not to talk.
Well,
I'll interject when I have to.
okay. So one of the things you brought up is proponents and opponents, the ones who understand the message and know what I'm doing, and those who are confused by it and is in opposition. You need both sides, right? And we're not operating from man's law right now. We're operating from the position of what's called universal law, which is the highest law we can ascertain in the 3D world, right? So when we talk about contract law, we're talking about the laws of men, that which is codified and recorded in books, being pushed by barristers in order to enforce the jurisdiction of the royal government onto the people, right? At some point, we have to figure out how to get from under the oppressive yoke of the corporation. The corporation is a straw man. It's a legal fiction. So it has no compassion for the people, right? Now, early on, I knew something was wrong when I was little, when I as a child, but I didn't know how to tell people what I seen. But I knew that I had some kind of psychic abilities where I could foretell the future. Like it was very common as an adolescent that I would hear a voice give me a number in my head, and I go get a number to my mama when we be hungry on our knuckles, and she'd hit the number and go grocery shopping. Right? That talent or that skill was cut off by Big Mama from the adults exploiting the child. The innocence of the child has to be protected by the adults that's harvesting that skill. So they would make promises that I'm gonna do this if I hit the number, if you give me the number, and then I give them the number, and they never follow through, and that's repugnant to the laws of nature and universal law. So the only way that Big Mama can stop the exploitation is she has to turn off that faculty. So now I couldn't give you a good number if I wanted to, right? Because the exploitation as a child for the number, which was enriching people, it was getting them out of poverty conditions, was exploited by the adults, writing the child off as being insignificant when the children are the futures of our nations. So under the matriarchal structure, so you remember Ty saying that he knew when I was talking about raising the matriarchy what I was on. This is what he's talking about. Under the matriarchal structure, the men and patriarchy believe it means do the same thing as patriarchy with women in charge. That's not what it means. What it means is when we raise children, we raise the children to be different from the parent in a better way. All of the matriarchs, the mothers agree that if we raise children correctly, we have competent and functional adults. But when the society is intervening in the rearing of the child in order to exploit them for the workforce and for their militaries to fight their wars, the works of the mothers become 100 times harder and it becomes 10 times less effective. Right? So she's doing 100 times the work for 1/10 of the benefit that if the society would honor the position of the mother in rearing the child properly according to the universal law. We don't care about man's law. Man's law is irrelevant to us. Universal law, Big Mama's rules, is universal law. And she speaks to all of us, but all of us can't hear her. Right? Some of us been listening to it for so many past lives, it's second nature. Right? And you can see the energy move from godmother to godmother as they give you instructions on your life path if you know what you're looking for. I knew that at an early age what I was looking for, but I couldn't understand why I was searching for it. And every time I'd be looking for an answer, my mama used to always say the same thing. Don't try to figure it out. Just keep asking the Lord for wisdom. If you get the wisdom, you can solve the problems. But if you don't pursue the wisdom, you will be submerged in the problem. The problem will overtake you. Right? So we follow the universal law, the path of least resistance. And the corporation follows man's law and the law of the jungle. I'm going to make you do what I want you to do, and then I'm going to contract you to it to hold you in my favor. That's slavery. And as long as we're not cognizant of what does it mean to have to file
an application for a job, right? When you look at what an application really is, it's a negotiable instrument between the person that's willing to give their energy up to the person who knows how to benefit from the energy. And the person who's giving their energy up is negotiating the rate of production of energy that they can give to the corporate jurisdiction that they are signing the application with. So it's basically an exchange of economics or currency for labor expended, right? It's a basic math problem. Now, the laborer is unaware of the calculating instrument of the labor. So he don't really know his true worth. He don't know that the corporations measure the jobs by physical exertion and calories burned per hour, the same way as they would say this is how many miles to the gallon that this car can get. So they know how much output for the type of job that you're applying for that you're worth. And you know they're going to give you about 1% of the value of that to them, right? When they should be giving you a functional wage, they created a system called inflation that can constantly steal from you by changing the rate by which your energy can be transferred and used to your benefit. It has nothing to do with social economics because you can have an economy with no inflation. Inflation is based off a debt concept of banking called fractional reserve banking, where you start using the debt as the collateral for the currency, which is a double debt, right? When you double down on the debt, it's twice as hard to get from under it. You know, it's like you got a house note that balloons and becomes double what it was. It becomes twice as hard to pay it as it was before, right? It's all in fractional reserve banking and how they put the money system together to always take your energy and never give you the value of the energy they took. We are under the impression that we just trying to make a living in this life. We don't want the struggle that comes with making a living being absorbed by inflation. So now what we was able to take care of a family on $5 an hour in the 60s, you can't take care of a family on $50 an hour in 2022. The price of gas alone is enough to suck your bank account dry, right? So in the whole process now, we trying to figure out how to get the people properly treated in order for Earth to advance to a golden age. This is the whole motivation, because in the golden age, this is the sun cycle coming in on the 24,000 year galactic clock, reference Charles Mosley Bay Clock of Destiny. When the galactic clock switches over from the silver lunar cycle to the golden moon cycle, we're going to go from temperatures increasing by up to 20 degrees around the world, right? Because now the things that's in secret has to be smoked out, so to speak. You know how they used to catch a rabbit in a hole and then they smoke one end, make it run out the other one? So right now, the sun cycle got the humans in the process of smoking out the devils that was holding us under those debt systems. And these systems, in turn, was oppressing the people so subtly until the people no longer knew they were being oppressed, misused, abused, and exploited. We heard about the 800,000 children a year go missing in the United States alone, right? That's almost 1 million children go missing every year, but we don't know about the cases. We might know about in the forefront of the media, they might showcase 100 cases throughout the year at the most across the land, and that's all locally. So we're not really getting the full impact of the tyranny taking place with the human trafficking and child exploitation. So we had to figure out how to reapply universal law, and that's not easy as it sounds, because you have to go through the dark night of the soul. That's the misery, right?
So
That's like,
with you though, as a young star, a child, had feelings. Would you call these feelings maybe remembrances coming back from an earlier cycle here, or just knowing what or remembering the assignment that you came here to fulfill at a very young age, that you knew that you came to do what you're doing now?
well, it came a point where I ignored the spiritual message because I'm a child, and they were overwhelming for me as a child. When I got to be a teenager, I got so good at blocking the messages out that they didn't bother me like they used to at earlier ages. And when I was blocking the messages out, it was pushing me more into what we term today street life, because the lifestyles in the hood, in the inner cities, is a very, very excellent distraction from hearing the spirit talk to you. But once you get heavy enough in the streets, you're going to lean back to spirit to guide you out of that condition. And you'll start opening back up to spirit again. That's why a lot of preachers is ex-pimps, prostitutes, and drug dealers, because spirit was able to guide them out of that destructive lifestyle and point them in a direction where they can be functional in this dysfunctional society. Most of us not even aware that society is dysfunctional, right?
Right.
So those things were overwhelming to me as a child. I had some experience as a child that I didn't understand them, but I didn't have no fear, and they were so perplexing to me.
Could you give us an example of maybe one, or of maybe something we would look at as spiritual or
Yeah, so
paranormal?
There was an instance in elementary school where we was playing like dodgeball or something, and the ball was in the air, and I jumped to get the ball. It continued to rise up until my body hit the ground. As soon as my body hit the ground, I snapped back in my body.
So you kind of blinked. You kind of it kind of blinked you out a bit. So you were saying that you went up to get the ball. Could you repeat that? Because it kind of, we didn't get it all.
Right. So as I jumped for the ball, my spirit separated from my body.
Okay.
And I could see the back of my head under me while my body is falling down face first to the concrete. Oh. And as soon as my body hit the ground, my spirit snapped back in my body. And I think that was more painful than the contact with the concrete. I know it was more startling.
The going back into your body was painful.
Yeah. Because it was done under the impact of a fall.
Do you think you left your body as a because I think about people, like say somebody falling over a cliff. I feel like a lot of those people leave their bodies before they hit the ground, because they already know, the bottom, that they're gonna die, and so they exit out. We kind of think they might have had a lot of pain, but it might just be the vessel that gets, that the fact that you see imminent death, or did your body see that you're going to hit face first?
Death never came into the equation, to my understanding, at that time.
Oh, but is that possible that was the reason of the separation?
No, I think that the reason for the separation is that I wasn't aware of how spiritually connected I was to the physical. I didn't identify enough with the body to bond properly with the physical form. So the euphoria of the jump gave me the awareness of the higher consciousness self that's able to see the lower vibrational self. So I just believe that I zoomed out perceptually to my higher consciousness in order to review what I was doing at the time, as a means of trying to comprehend the body and spirit being projected into the body. And that was like, they didn't have this term in science until recently in epigenetics. Epigenetics gives you the understanding of how the spirit is projected into the body. So epigenetics and the remote position of where the spirit is projecting from into the body becomes the understanding that matches the experience. Right? So they say hindsight is 2020. Like a lot of the stuff about like the imposters on the land that don't belong here, the society not running how we used to do it in ancient times, that's genetic memory. That's from past life recall. Like I can go back in my mind and I'll be right back in New Orleans in the nightlife in 1901, right? And I can remember conversations I had with people. But when you tell people this, the first thing come to their mind is he's going through a schizoid episode. He's losing his mind, right? But if you're not psychic or not aware of your psychic talent and how to use it, psychic experience sounds irrational to a rational mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they call it the intoxication of the sages, or the madness of the adepts. When you go through this acute awareness that the average person can't assimilate from their perception of consciousness. So you trying to explain quantum physics to a 3-year-old that haven't even learned the alphabet yet. It's very difficult, but it's not impossible.
Excuse me. Have we been dumbed down and deliberately dumbed down? I know we have, but deliberately disconnected from our higher self and had that replaced by saviors and things that we need to look externally to.
The savior complexes, the God complexes, looking outside of yourself for divinity prevents you from looking inside for the inner glow, the inner divinity. Like the last dragon finally realizing he the master at the point of his own destruction. Right? At that point, when he realized he's at his life's end, that's when they say in the mystery system, it said like this: he who dies yet lives finds eternal life, because you find the secret of life. And the secret of life is that it ain't no secret, you're just supposed to live it. Soon as you start trying to micromanage everybody else's life, you can't live your own life. You live in the micromanager's job of being an agent in the matrix. The dumbing down was done to us through the same principles of AA. It's applied in a 12-step educational program designed to separate you from thinking so that you can learn to embrace being given orders, right? But the ones that's unruly in the educational system, because I seen through it in the 5th grade, I seen exploitation written all over the educational system. So I was sparsely participating. I wasn't getting no A's in school. I wasn't getting no B's in school. I was C student. Sometimes D's and E's. Because most of the time I just didn't do the work. And most of the time I didn't do the work because I something didn't feel right, and I didn't know how to tell nobody that the system that I'm in don't feel right. So I stopped participating.
Wow.
So the result of that, I ended up being kicked out of school in the first semester of the 10th grade for bringing brass knuckles to school. Right? And I never had to get caught with them. But I didn't care. I didn't want to be there anyway. So to me, they was doing me the favor. Right? So when I was understanding what the school system was later doing psychological research, it's a combination of a Pavlovian response system and a B.F. Skinner's Skinner box, both used for indoctrination purposes and heavily researched under MK Ultra.
Now I know about Pavlov, that Pavlov's dog, and so that. But what is the B.F. Skinner box?
Well, the Skinner box is used to issue out punishment as opposed to treats in order to compel you to get out of a box. The punishment is the erroneous teaching pattern of the educator. it becomes torturous to remain in the class, but you have to be on your best behavior lest you incur the zap of the Skinner box, which is repackaged as the authority of the school will discipline you, right? So the good teachers is the ones that the class always goes by too fast and you actually learn something. Their teaching career is going to be short.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of way the school's going to get rid of them or going to overwork them where they become ineffective because they are effective. So when you look at the punishment in the Skinner box and you look at the system of the bell, instead of going to the treat, you escaping the punishment. And by jumping between escaping punishment and being trapped in punishment, you learn to accept the punishing system of the workforce.
So that's in other words, okay, training, that is the conditioning. I'm sorry, conditioning for the next. I'm being careful about what I say because I was thinking about the last 2 years that became conditioning for the next, but we're gonna go into that right now. But it was a preamble or prelude to what, now you've been indoctrinated into that, so that now we'll be able to take more of your energy, more of your currency that you spoke of in between now and whenever your life ends.
Right.
Based on the value they placed on it.
Right. So now the society there's nothing wrong with doing work. That's not what we're talking about. It's definitely something wrong with being exploited and underpaid for the work that you do. This is what our problem is. This is what we are in opposition of. The problem with resolving that matter is the worker doesn't understand his value to the company. So he shrinks himself down in order to fit into the company's social construct, right? So when GM was going through negotiations with the UAW a few years ago, I tried to inform the worker on how to defend themselves because they were sold out at the highest levels of the union, right? And I knew I was right because I told them if I'm right, I got to get 3 knocks from Mary Barra, who was leading the negotiations for the Big Three. And 3 times in a row, they refused the contract. The reason being is the UAW never offered a contract to be negotiated on to the company, but instead asked the company what did they want to give the worker. And this is back to standard operating procedure, business as usual. But the CEOs of the Big Three, our people picked them in order for the worker to be able to be properly compensated for his labor. But the people are still so naive that they won't ask for their value, and so they still continue to get exploited and underpaid for their work. Now the economy is making it where even if they start asking for what they're worth now, your money is still not going to go as far as it should because of the inflation. Everything is going up, but ain't nobody wages going up, right? And the whole minimum wage hike is designed to shortstop the high wage makers. So before, minimum wage was $1.25, a good $20 hour job was a good ass job. But now you got minimum wages in some place high as $14 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And a $20 hour job is barely over the poverty line. That's insane. Exploitation of the people. And my mama used to tell me this over and over again. You can't throw people away like trash, baby. She said everybody should get what they owe, good, bad, or indifferent. These are repeated statements that she used to make. Now, as a child, I was trying to understand why my mama keeps saying this over and over, right? So it made me pay attention to the things that she repeat more than probably my siblings. And they became part of who I am, right? She used to say, baby, ain't nobody better than you, but just remember, you ain't better than nobody else. right? Ain't no big eyes or no little U's in family, right? So everybody got a part to play, and everybody can't play your part. I don't know what the hell that means, but it sounds like she's giving me something to do that can't nobody else in the family do. I don't know what it is though, but she keep telling me this repeatedly to drill it into my character because I'm always curious. I always ask a lot of questions, and I don't ask the same questions as the other children in my age group. So they used to call me weird. You know, the little weird kid, the little quiet boy, that little nappy headed MF, stuff like that. And I ain't like, what is this all about? Because I don't feel like none of that. What y'all saying ain't got nothing to do with me. Running into the field when they disappear in the Bermuda Triangle.
Mm. So you said the glass pyramid. What's
Yep.
that now? Say it again. You gotta explain that. What's that?
It's a giant pyramid that looked like it's made out of glass.
And where's this?
In the Bermuda Triangle.
What, in the water?
It's pictures of it online.
Oh yeah. Okay, I gotta check that out.
Go pull it up.
Let me see.
Pull up glass pyramid, Bermuda Triangle. It's an energy vortex because that's not glass. It's made out of some type of plasma, but it looked like glass to the human eye. As soon as you see it, it's going to be unmistakable. You're going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
I think
it damn near looked like a clear iceberg coming out the water.
There's a site that's saying that it's satire. Let me put it on so you can see. Hold up. We could do this while in front of y'all. Okay, so the first website I clicked on says story about the discovery of underwater pyramid in the Bermuda Triangle originates from satirical publication.
Right. So satire is what you call dry wit comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you can tell somebody the truth, but you can veil it with a joke.
Right. Okay.
That's satire.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just because they telling it to you in a joke, don't mean they ain't telling you the truth.
Uh-huh. So you saying, damn, this look wow. So you saying this thing right here is real?
Yeah, it's look, it's video from pilots video in it too. It's not just still photographs.
Mm. Wow. Now let me ask you, what do you think about the possibility of the giants?
There were giants. There were giants at different stages of growth. You got to remember, we wasn't always 3-dimensional beings. We was like 12-dimensional beings, right? We smaller now because we more energy, more compact for the purposes of the same reason they downsize cars. But when we used to incarnate on Earth, we'd be fucking, our head be in the clouds.
That big?
Yeah. But then over time, when we start incarnating on a smaller size scale, depending on the age we was in, because we evolving the organism that would become the manifest 3D form of expression, where you can live a lifetime in 120 Earth years, but it's just a blink of an eye to a god.
Right.
Because they eternal beings.
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff is a bunch of eternal beings converging their mental ability to create using the principles that you find in the what's that triangle called? The Star of Life.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you pull up the cover for the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, you'll see he's holding the Star of Life in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody had to create the construct in order for this 3D reality to manifest in 3D. Mm-hmm. Right? The science is Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is your proverbial shield of Solomon and seal of David. The seal of Solomon is the 5-point star, but the shield of Solomon is the 6. The shield of David is the 5-point, but the seal of David is the 6. Right? So they using both of the symbols. The one represents man, one represents woman. Right? So you have to find the balance between the two. Unless you turn out to be a sissy. Not meaning homosexual, a sissy as in you can't control your emotions, you can't control your fiery masculine energy. You collapse. It doesn't work for you. Right? You feel more comfortable being told what to do than to tell somebody what to do. Right? You undervalue yourself, but you don't know you undervalue yourself because you believe your confidence is high. That's what you call self-delusion. That's what we call shadow work, is facing those types of thinking patterns. Right? So you say, well, if not me, then who? Whatever the problem is, that's the first thing you're supposed to ask. If not me, then who gonna fix it?
Right.
Right? Most of the time, it ain't gonna be no or who. It's just gonna be you. Because most of the time, it's gonna be your problem. Now, you might want to bring other people in to aid and assist you, but most motherfuckers don't want no parts of your problem. They just want you to fix theirs.
Earlier, I asked you, I think, because I asked you 2 questions. I don't think you touched on the question of Mexico being the most visited country with UFOs. Is there any truth to that statement?
Look, they everywhere. I can't say that they the most visited. They might be the most visible.
Yeah.
Because the people there kind of like more closer to the earth roots. They not as like fearful energy as the cities.
Right.
You see, they put us in these cities, concrete jungles, and keep us in a state of fear for primitive responses to the environment. It's a brilliant oppression plan. It's just time for us to break it. The cities are in the wrong structure for mass human interaction because it's designed to create hostilities between people.
So you feel as though we should be leaving the cities? You think we should be leaving these cities and moving back to nature?
We should be going back to. So it's not practical to say everybody leave the city. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But what's practical is this: everybody who remain in the city need to be connected to somebody that they can get out of the city for periods of time to reload and to resync with nature. Right?
Okay.
We need to be reestablishing family bonds. So the number one piece of advice I've been giving the young chiefs, asking me what can they do, is this: speak to somebody in your family that you know they're related to you, but you never had a conversation with them. Give them 30 minutes of your time, call them up.
Yeah.